Pastor Matt here. I am thankful to be here with you on this Palm Sunday. It's hard to believe we're at the end of March. By the end of this week will be, or by the middle of this week will be in April, and then Easter Sunday, and then on we go. This is the time of year where it really starts to really feel like the spring is happening, even with here in Colorado when there is still some snow on the ground, and we can be sure that there will be another snowfall that'll come. In fact, I think it was just a few years ago we had snow on Mother's Day, and a good snow on Mother's Day. But be that as it may, this is Palm Sunday and the beginning of Holy Week. We're on the Christian calendar. We start to remember the last week of Jesus's life. If you go through the Gospels, you see that the majority of the Gospels, when you look in the proportion of Jesus's life, the majority of the Gospels deal with this last week. In fact, in Mark, the last week, it's 16 chapters in Mark. Well, the last week begins in Mark chapter 9. So there is a significance to this, that what Jesus did was fulfilling something that was put into plan even before the world began. And that nothing that happened on this earth, nothing, not even his crucifixion, threw God off of that plan. And so one of the things that has always intrigued me, I gotta just say this, one of the things that's always intrigued me is Palm Sunday, right? Why palms? Why why palms? Now, I grew up in Florida. When I say I grew up in Florida, middle school, high school, college, grew up in Florida. Um, Palm trees everywhere. And I know there's quite a few people. I have a neighbor that he goes to Arizona every single year to get away from the cold weather. Palms, right? So why do we spend time and why do we call this Palm Sunday? Well, you're going to hear a little bit about this morning, but I want to go into just a little more detail as time permits here. So, about 150 years earlier, rather 150 years before Jesus came, before the time of Christ, before we read about this in Mark 11, Luke 19, John 12. Um, that was when Israel and Rome finally came to blows. And out of that emerged a national hero whose name was Simon Maccabeus, who led an army to drive out Rome from the Holy Land. And they gave them about 100 years of peace before Julius Caesar decided to come in and regain the Holy Land in about 40s BC. And so they celebrated his victory with palm fronds, and it's known as the Second Maccabean Revolt. At some point, we'll talk about the First Maccabean Revolt, but when Simon Maccabeus came through, he was greeted with palms. And so that's one of the things that we notice. It talks about in Luke, or I'm sorry, in Mark, where it talks about that they had leafy branches that they cut from the fields. Well, those are what we're noticing as the palm fronds. So what palms are representing is a deliverer, showing that the people recognize that this is a king who could be their rescuer and deliverer from the power of Rome. And this is why the disciples began to rejoice and praise, because maybe they thought that Jesus was going to come in and provide a third type of Maccabean revolt. If it could happen before, it could happen again. But what are we seeing here? Well, this actually came right after Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead in John chapter 11. We read about that. And that's the type of delivery that this king was going to provide. It wasn't going to be a political delivery, and some of us, we need to realize that this is how God operates. God is there to, yes, minister to our physical and emotional and relational and mental and intellectual needs, but he's ultimately there to take care of our eternity. And when our eternity and our identity has been set in eternity, then that influences how we live here and now. So what we need to recognize here is that John is really showing that the rescue is from sin. The rescue is from brokenness. The rescue is from death. And that's one of the things when it says, Hosanna, save us. Hosanna. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. They were thinking he was going to restore the kingdom of his father David. It was entirely political, it was entirely outward. But God was wanting to do a work inwardly through his son Jesus. And so that's where we come from. But this is the palm. The palms represent a deliverer. The palms represent a rescuer. And Jesus is just that. And they were celebrating it, but they were celebrating it on the wrong terms. And that's really what we're going to be looking at today. Is Palm Sunday. Yeah, he's a rescuer and deliverer. But we also see about this episode of the triumphal entry is that even though Jesus knew just days ahead that he would be crucified, he was executing a plan on a heavenly timetable to rescue us. So we're saying, Lord, save us. And he said, I will, but it's going to be on my terms. It's not going to be on yours. It's going to be on my plan, not yours. And so when we recognize that, I think we end up coming to Palm Sunday in a way that is much more, well, it's not just something we've always done and then we kind of move along. I think now we're realizing, okay, this is what Jesus accomplished on our behalf. How great is this? How wonderful is what he has provided for us? So we're going to get started probably in about for our first service, probably about in just a few minutes, about 40 minutes or so. And we know that things are opening up a bit, and we're very excited for our Easter services, not only on our Easter services on Sunday, but our Good Friday services that start at 6 o'clock. So I hope that you can be a part of that. If you happen to be a member of our church but can't come, or there's still a concern about getting out, just please let your deacon know that you would like to have your Lord's Supper elements delivered to you. But all in all, we are just grateful that we can be here to celebrate Holy Week and realize that what has been accomplished here is what sets us not only for eternity, but sets us even for now. We've been rescued from our sin and deadness and brokenness and rescued to Christ. Run to Christ. Run away from sin. Run away from the things that aren't a part of his design and run to him to find meaning and value and purpose, the original purpose of why we were created. Any other path will not lead anywhere, but Christ will. Turn to him. All right? God bless you. Bye-bye.